10 a.m. right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you're watching from. It's Business Morning live from Channels HQ. Day after the inauguration, and it's official. We have a new president, and definitely markets in Nigeria will react from currency, capital market, energy markets, and so on. But let's kick off now with global markets. We see oil prices fell today, giving up earlier gains as concerns about the viability of the U.S. debt ceiling pact cooled the markets. Risk-on sentiment and mixed messages from major producers clouded the supply outlook ahead of their meeting this weekend. Talking about OPEC, Brent crude futures fell 59 cents, down by 0.8% to $76.48 per barrel. That's an early trade, while U.S. WTI crude dipped 42 cents to $72.25 a barrel, down 0.6% from Friday's close. There was no settlement on Monday because of a U.S. public holiday. The debt deadline nearly coincides with the June 4th meeting of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and allies, including Russia, known as OPEC+, and uncertainty over whether they will increase their output cuts amid a recent slump in prices. That's also weighing on the market. And a historic moment in Nigeria as Bola Tinubu is sworn in as Nigeria's 16th democratically elected president. During his inaugural speech to the nation, President Tinubu says the era of subsidy payment on fuel has ended. President Tinubu says subsidy was not captured in the 2023 budget, and as such, the funds will be channeled to other important areas. Take a listen.
We shall remodel our economy to bring our growth and develop the GDP much better, achieve the GDP much better than we have today. I assure you, of fuel subsidy, unfortunately, the budget that I've glimpsed before I assumed office and what I've heard is that no provision is there for fuel subsidy. The fuel subsidy is gone. Subsidy can no longer justify an ever increasing cost in the wake of dry resources.
And boom, just like that, fuel queues back just after the president talked about the fuel subsidies there come to an end. See, it's back across major cities in Nigeria now. Come to work this morning, I saw queues already building up around Bega, with filling stations either short or overwhelmed by buyers as many motorists scramble to get petroleum products hours after President Bola Tinubu announced that the government will put an end to the fuel subsidy regime. Quite a welcoming gift there for the new president. Some are against the immediate removal of subsidy, while others believe it's time for Nigeria to do away with fuel subsidy. And definitely, we know subsidies are a very sensitive topic. We've seen how that's impacted other countries when they try to take off subsidies from bread, for instance, and wheat. And we see here motorists already reacting to that news there, with some of the sellers there already shutting down some of their stations, waiting for the news to filter in. But that's what we see right now. Looks like the fuel queues are back. Hopefully this does not last. All right, joining me now is Mr. Orji Demezwe, CEO of Flame Academy Consulting, joining me right here in the studio. Good morning.
Yeah, morning, Ladi. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Exactly.
Congratulations. This is a beautiful studio, by the way.
Thank you.
This is my first time being in this studio.
Thank you.
I'm used to the other studio. So wonderful job you guys are doing.
Thank you so much.
Keep it up, please.
Yeah, great to have you here. And I guess it's a new era right now for us in Nigeria, but it's quite a sour welcoming. We're giving the new president with the field cues back right now. How are you seeing it? Yeah, well, it's quite worrisome. The kind of statement our new president made yesterday. I think it was a bit unguarded. I thought he would just have, taken the opportunity of the inauguration to just thank Nigerians for the opportunity to lead us and make general statements and then go back to the drawing board to sit with his team before they will now announce this kind of thing. You can imagine what has happened this morning. Even on my way here, I chose to, find my way without my car. And I found that everything has just gone double. Those who experience the usual daily commute through the buses, fares have almost tripled, not just doubled. Petrol has become very scarce, even in Lagos, in my area. And then there's that tension, that gloom that, we're going to get to the worst situation right now. So that statement, I think, wasn't necessary. Even though we know that subsidy removal may come sooner than later. Because we've all been clamoring for it for a while now. We are not clamoring for it. We want the subsidy removed. We want it to be removed, but want to be removed responsibly. For me, the concern is not, there's no doubt in any reasonable person's mind that Nigeria needs to remove the subsidy to remove the drag on our revenue of the fiscal drag we have through the subsidy. But the point is that on whose shoulder will the hurt be? Should the government continue to behave as if there's no problem, live on the largesse, travel around the way they want, use billions to repair things in Aso Rock, and they carry on the three levels of government that's still eating us very deep, no adjustments. We carry all the aids and everything, spending like never before, in all kinds of frivolous expenses, and then we only want Nigerians who are already very, very poor to keep adjusting subsidy. What we're saying is government should do the minimum responsible thing to do to justify the trust. The issue here is the economy of trust. And I wrote an article on this several years ago. The economy of trust is a kind of economy we ignore in this country. Without mutual trust, leaders can hardly pull through even reasonably considered policies. What do I mean here? If government has shown some goodwill towards citizens by ensuring that all our refineries are working, the transport system is so efficient that even when they remove the subsidy, federal government can find, there are systems in place to cushion the multiplier effect of the inflation through transportation and all of that. If government has tried to cut down the level of careless spending and remove all the loopholes in governance and the corruption, trust me, even if they don't do it 100%, when they begin to take steps in the direction, it's easier to convince Nigerians to remove subsidy. But from the president's speech, do you believe he means to do this immediately? I don't read him as meaning to do this immediately. I understand that he wants to create that impression that, we want something new for the country because people know that subsidy needs to be removed. But they need to be careful about it because it's going to get this country going into some kind of turmoil. Already Nigerians are suffering very, very deeply. Inflation is very, very high at this point. People cannot afford to feed. People still earn about 30,000 naira a month. And, transport is now, going off the roof. How do you want them to survive? A bag of rice now is about 50,000 or more. And then, basic things you can do, and you have a family of 4 or 5, for example, and you are feeding them under 30, 40,000. Even in the private sector, people that have master's degree in this country are still earning less than 50,000 naira. In the current situation, everything has doubled in price, food stuff and everything. And by the time, of course, we have to face the reality of subsidy removal, but at this very point in time, we need to think about it. It may not be a total removal. They have to find a way to face it. We have to gain the confidence of the Nigerian labor. Yes, one of the conditions was that for subsidy removal is that we get our refineries actually working. Okay. But we have the Dangote refinery coming on stream. Dangote refinery is a private enterprise. Government is only an investor in that system. Nigerians have, we have tried to, live in some fool's paradise. Oh, Dangote refineries. Congratulations to Aliko Dangote and his group.
Government must not take glory for that project, even though they invested in it. Now, we need to see a clear agreement, or partnership or swap or whatever, is going to fuel that refinery to work. The refinery is not going to refine water. They're going to refine crude. What is the template for NNPC now to supply crude, at a very reasonable price to that? Because if they get the crude at normal price, they can't do any magic. They will still refine and bring it out at another, global price of, let's say, average of, let's say they get it at, normal price. It may come out at about 500, 600 naira. All we are not going to be saying is, okay, even if we now have to subsidize petroleum product, we're subsidizing our own country, our own, economy. We are paying Dangote that subsidy, and it trickles down to the economy, people employed and so on. Because for now that we import this product, we are just importing unemployment. But with the huge amount of jobs that Dangote Group will provide, even if we subsidize it, the money is still coming within us. He pays tax from there and everything, and then Nigeria is better off than when we import it. But the question is, what has happened to our Kaduna refinery, Port Harcourt refinery, and other refineries that we have in this country? What has government done with all the staffing, all the budgetary allocation to those refineries? What have they done to show goodwill that we want to refine our product? If those refineries are working, join with a partnership with the Dangote refinery, I'm sure there will be a show up of confidence, and we can say, let's see this subsidy removed totally, because the shock absorbers are there already. So beginning from there, I'm sure you want to set an agenda for this government, and we can go ahead and do that. But subsidy removal may be the first thing, but that we'll discuss here. But what I want to say,
the best way is to a phased removal.
A phased removal for me is preferable. Not just phasing, but beginning first.
Can we even afford that?
We can afford to remove the subsidy. But what I'm saying is that there must be that building of trust. And you don't build trust by talking carelessly. The kind of statement that was made yesterday, I think, was a bit careless. It doesn't show sensitivity to what the country is going through right now. So, and that's very important. And another area that this government has to show sensitivity is in the feeling Nigerians have generally. There's no doubt, even from my personal findings, that many people still feel aggrieved with the outcome of the last election. So I think that the first thing I get the government will do in building trust is to ensure that the legal process going on at the tribunal and maybe the Supreme Court goes on without, interference, undue interference by the executive government that's taking over right now. If they get that done, the cloud of illegitimacy covering this government will clear. If we allow the process to go through, because that's part of democracy, no nation can actually grow or move forward with a cloud of injustice and unfairness surrounding it. So this government needs to do that first to ensure an improved legitimacy of governance, improved trust and connectivity between the governed and the government. If that is done, we don't know what the Supreme Court will decide, but let them decide. And if our own dear Tinubu comes back, then I'm sure he will come back with a bigger point of legitimacy. But let this government not interfere with the judicial process. That will help to clear the doubt, and the cloud of uncertainty. And many investors are also by the side watching. What happens with the tribunal, which we hope will end in September, will clear some doubt in Nigeria and then make investors begin to be willing again to jump in here without any iota of doubt and uncertainty.
Right, and talking about the economy of trust at this point, another big issue right now is the FX situation, and the president did strike the right notes yesterday, talking about unifying all the windows and some kind of restructuring going on with the CBN. He also mentioned that, talked about the cleansing at this point. And with this whole FX issue, we know another issue with investors is our foreign investors. They need to be able to repatriate their hard-earned currency. He did mention that too.
Yeah, that's a very good point for our dear President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR.
Right.
If he can take that action as soon as possible, I can assure you that it will be a very big plus for this new government. When something is new, despite the political clout and all of that, when something is new, people have new expectations, new hopes, and new opportunities. I think the time is right for our dear president to quickly rejig the Central Bank of Nigeria. And in rejigging them, also allow them some level of independence to decide the best thing for this country. And if he's able to work on the FX thing, so much goodwill so much investment will wait for this country. Nigeria used to be a major destination for foreign direct investment and even foreign portfolio investment before now, but where have we gone to? From about 3, 4, 5 billion annually in foreign direct investment to now about 500, 600 million, which is very, very poor. Egypt has taken over and a few other African destinations. Why? Because investors don't like uncertainty. The multiple windows, the multiple currency windows, is hurting this country much more than what we think we are gaining, trying to prop up the value of Naira. So any government that can remove that, how can you be selling dollar in one window at about 460 Naira? And then the next window, somebody can buy it at 740. Then you have created a very palatable and comfortable avenue for corruption, mismanagement, inefficient allocation, and round tripping. Because somebody can use any documentation under the guise of government, linked to Aso Rock or linked to the central bank, give you documents, whether they are real or fake, nobody now knows, and then collects $1 million from you. $1 million that an exporter, fought so hard, went to the farm, went to the oil well to bring out, and you collect it from him at the central bank at 460. Somebody buys it from you under any guise whatsoever, and in the next window, the person makes 300 Naira or more on it. The person will have no other job to do than to keep doing that. So we are funding, or we are legalizing criminality, corruption, and inefficient allocation of our dollars. And that's one reason why foreign direct investors can never come in here. Portfolio investors have run away long ago, and all the international money transfer agencies have also left us. Except now that we are trying to compensate people, to collect their money through Western Union and all of that, and then get some bonus. What we have done is to damage all the sources of inflow of US in this country, and leaving only central bank bothering to do that. And that's why we've been hemorrhaging. We've been bleeding badly on our foreign exchange reserves and so on because of this total defense of Naira. We believe that Naira should be given its fair value, which will be fair to Nigeria and the international community. We cannot afford to play.
But there's also a risk to floating. When
you float it, yes, there will be an immediate jump in price of things. But let me take you on this journey, Ladi. Sometime in 2014, let's say 2016 or so, when we were talking about this floating, when it appeared, then we were at around 200 and 225 Naira per dollar. And some of us were saying the international community actually estimated the value at about 250, not very far away from what we kept it at. But we never heeded to trying to align the value we thought it has here to the international expression through the futures. And we kept playing a catch-up. Each time we refused to float it and take that pain once and for all, like Egypt did 2016, 2017, we keep showing that we're not serious to attract investors. And then what happens? The thing keeps going away from our control, and the central bank keeps technically revaluing, depreciating and devaluing at the same time. And even though we are at 460, you and I know that people get this dollar for their legitimate transactions at above 740. So what are we still doing? We're still living, in a fool's paradise, thinking that things are well. What we need to do is to work with the consultants and look at what a fair value is based on the futures, what the world expects our value to be. If you're able to catch that, you're being proactive. You may take some hurt or pain because, while we kept defending from 250, where are we today? Are we not worse off? But if you had floated it, then what has happened today will not happen. Where all sources of foreign inflow, have all dried up. Central bank is now, frittering away our oil revenue to be able to defend the Naira. That will stop immediately. You allow investors to bring in their own dollar. Direct investors will come in because they're not living immediately.
So if we unify, these windows, at this point, and actually float the Naira.
It's going to be a managed float.
A managed float, yes, a managed float. But we still continue this status quo of being an import-dependent economy. That doesn't change anything. That doesn't strengthen the Naira,
point is that when we bring in a managed float regime for the FX, what we are going to do is to open up all the avenues of inflow. That does not yet save us from being an import-dependent country. Now, to bring ourselves down, in the level of import that we have, we must do one thing: to make sure that we support the Dangote refinery and make sure all refineries are working. Because for today, Nigeria still spends almost 30 to 40% of our foreign FX receipts in importing things. When we do that, that will remove so much burden, on this country in terms of balance of payment, equilibrium, or trying to achieve a net exporter position. So we must eliminate every form of importation of petroleum byproducts, whether it's a DPK or the automated gas oil, or aviation fuel and all of that, right, we must stop importing them. This is anyway. Thank God for Dangote refinery. I think on that, this government must partner with Dangote and make sure the refinery works. Even if we subsidize what they do, it is still subsidizing our own economy. Okay. Having said that, what about non-oil export? Why must we still be importing rice, tomatoes, and other several other goods that we can make in this country? So this government must genuinely begin to focus on non-oil export, agriculture basically. Solid minerals. Can we give account of these things? How are we growing them deliberately? We only talk about that when oil price, crashes below some level. Then we wake up again and talk, how do we export this and that? But we know that some states in this country had done vegetable export. Some people had done, other exports that are very critical to us. There are several, whether it's the pyramid in the north, the groundnut and so on, the grains, which we have in excess, or the bananas and plantains and so on, or the vegetables that we have in abundance around this country can export so much, and Africa is waiting. And the recently engineered AFTA, that's African Continental Free Trade Agreement, right, is there to enable Nigeria to supply things to Africa. Even petroleum product, Nigeria is a big partner in Africa.
Right. So
and if we're able to fill that gap, then much of Africa will stop importing things from the rest of the world.
I believe it's time to become, change the narrative and become more export-driven economy.
But
thank you.
Human capital is very important there.
Exactly.
So I also urge this government to pay attention to human capital, beginning with our health systems, education.
Right.
Investing a lot in our education, and of course, training of government professionals and equipping people to do better. Let's hope in the end that we get it right this time around.
Right.
Despite the hurting news of subsidy yesterday, exactly. I pray that this government will actually succeed.
I pray.
And I also pray that
too.
whatever the Supreme Court decision is, that we all abide by it and move forward in this country.
I'm guessing so 100 days starts now.
Yeah,
first 100 days starts immediately. Thank you so much, Mr. Odi.
Thank you for inviting me.
CEO, Flame Academy Consulting. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Laddie.
All right, so after the break, we'll look at revenue sources for the new government as major stakeholders recommend tax increases. That's our next discussion. Just stay with us. Watching Business Morning live on Channels Television. Well, the International Monetary Fund has thrown its weight behind the need for Nigeria to carry out tax administration reforms. The IMF advised the Nigerian government to double value-added tax to 15% in the next 5 years from the current 7.5%. Well, let's get an outlook for the Nigerian economy for the second half of 2023. Joining me now is Onosimi Emmanuel, lead partner, Cardinal Professional Services, joining me right here in the studio. Good morning. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, historic moment for us right now. We have a brand new president right now. How do you see what the president said yesterday in his speeches?
Okay, let me join my co-Nigerians to celebrate every Nigerian. Nigeria as a nation has successfully, transitioned into the fourth democratic government, without any hitch. I think that is something that we need to clap for ourselves for. It shows the resilience of our people and our commitment to democracy. And my assessment, I think that was a very, brilliant inaugural speech delivered by the President Tinubu yesterday. You can see some emotionalism in it. His attempt to carry everybody along, including his opponents during the election. He said it's no longer time for election. It now belongs to everybody. No prejudice. Everybody is going to suffer again. But one of the things that could have been misconstrued was how he presented the information about the subsidy removal. I strongly believe that he was trying to make a statement that the past government has left no provision for continuity of subsidy, and as such, until he gets his cabinet in place and review things, for now there is no subsidy, but
so we shouldn't interpret it immediately.
Yeah, but the way he said it with so much emotionalism, it then connotes a sense that, oh, maybe this guy is very absolute about the removal of subsidy, and you can see the reaction. That's why we say that leadership is a different game. People respond to your words and give weight to your words much more than when you are not a leader. You can see the ripple effect in the market, how prices of petrol have skyrocketed, and petrol is very sensitive in this economy. Once it changes, every other prices jump up.
And we're already battling sky-high inflation at 22.22% at this time. So this government definitely is inheriting revenue issues at this point, huge debt stock. Right now, we've seen, most of these experts and stakeholders talk about, increasing, taxes like VAT, for instance, about 15%. And with the hardship, households and businesses already, going through right now, it seems like increasing tax is going to be a very hard pill to swallow at this point. But this government needs revenue.
Yeah, you see, looking at H2, the second half of this year, and I think the wisdom for survivor, this HQ is to get your liquidity right. Because, from the government perspective, there's a huge liquidity challenge. So the government has to be very creative, in bringing creative ways to shore up revenue, looking at the way where we are, our current Moody's rating is bad. That means our ability to borrow is limited. Then they force government to look into other creative ways like taxation, to get revenue, subsidy removal to save some revenue, and all that. So from that perspective, the government will need to solve the liquidity challenge. And what that means for business is that, cost of things may go up. And the cost of survival may also go up for an individual. The prices of commuting around has gone up and all that. So as a business, I think one of the biggest strategy that any business leader can put in place in this second half is to shore up your liquidity. This is the time for you to start speaking to your potential investors, your shareholder, to say, for us to run through this rough period of transitioning, I think we may need some additional liquidity, to survive the storm that may come. The truth is that there will definitely be a storm. This government, during the election period, has been tipped as the most prepared, candidate that eventually became the winner of the election, following the history of the years of preparation for this, what people call lifetime ambition. And we believe that this government should hit the ground running as much as possible, having all your policies set, and just implementing, have the people round, peg in the round holes as much as possible, so that we can re-stimulate the economy and get these things going. But for the government to also get going, they need cash. So that cash has to come from somewhere, which will definitely be some form of increment in VAT as recommended already. Even the former Minister of Finance recommended an increase to 10%, and then some other measures that will have some direct impact on the populace, and it
definitely impact businesses that are already, struggling to pay most of these taxes, at this point. Instead of heaping more taxes on them, wouldn't it be better to maybe expand the tax base?
Yeah, that is an ongoing conversation. I've been here before, and I've mentioned it, that the way for any government coming in, which is now in place today, is to have deploy technology to increase your tax base, rather than going back to the previous people that you have always hound for taxes,
raising taxes
and all that. But for me, let me quickly speak to the issue of removal of subsidy. I think removal of subsidy is imminent on this nation. It's either we remove subsidy or we die. You understand? It's as imminent as that. But I think that tactic to the removal of subsidy has to be methodical. I strongly believe that as recommended by IMF, phased removal. In the kind of environment we are, phased removal will not be efficient because of the complexity of our system. But what I believe so strongly is that, there has to be some deliberate, strategic deals between the federal, state, and the local governments on how to mitigate the impact of the removal of subsidy on the people. For example, number one, you can give a period of tax holiday, for payee taxes for those people that are in that bracket, to say, instead of when you remove this subsidy, you will get your 50,000 naira tax back to yourself to continue to survive. You can create forced competition in the market to mitigate the immediate inflation that typically follows the increment of fuel price in our economy. For example, mass transit, partner with Lagos State, with government of different states to put mass transit as a particular rate to compete with the other guys that may want to exploit the removal of subsidies. So those kind of strategic conversation has to happen. The issue of dealing with oil marketers, also strategic partnership with NNPC to ensure that, even you remove the subsidy, the price is as competitive as much as possible. All those strategic conversation has to be on ground.
So many conversations. Another important topic the president talked about was interest rates, and obviously we know cost of borrowing is a big problem right now for businesses. And he said the interest rate at this point is too high, and it's going to bring it down. But at the same time, we're battling inflation.
Interest rates, we have already reached the ceiling. The strategy that the past, or can I say the current CBN government, because it's not an appointed position anyway, has been taken is to use the tool of interest rates to encourage forex inflows. You increase the interest rate a bit, you get FDI in, and then maybe you used to manage some production activity within the economy. But going the route of interest rates, once MPR goes up, the cost of lending balloons for everybody within the economy, and that further increase the cost of production, which also leads to inflation. So we are trying to battle forex, but we are also creating another challenge in inflationary impact for the people. So I think what's needed to be done is that the government has to be more pragmatic on attacking the factors of production that will make the cost of business, go down significantly in this economy. If there is no deliberate plan, both in the short to medium and long term, to ease the factor of production in the economy, then there's no shortcut out of this.
Definitely, so much. So what are you seeing for the second half of 2023?
Okay, like I said earlier, second half of 2023 is going to be pretty interesting. A lot of revenue push from the government, which may have impact on business and individuals. So as individual, this is the time for you to save as much as possible. Adjust your lifestyle. If you're running gen for 10 hours, you may want to reduce it 6 hours. Those are the realities on ground. And for businesses, you cannot but run the gen. So that means you have to have strategic way of improving your liquidity. I think for this second half of the year, for the shocks that will be coming, VAT increase, fuel subsidy removal, and some other development within the economy, liquidity, shoring up your liquidity is a way to go.
So liquidity is your friend at this point. All right, thank you so much, Onasimi Emmanuel, lead partner, Cardinal Professional Services.
Great thank you very much, Ladi, for having me.
Thank you. All right, so let's take a look at what's happening with commodities now. With commodities market up there, we see oil prices still volatile at this point. Let's bring in Oluwatomi Mayowa, senior analyst, financial derivatives company. Great to have you on the show, Mayowa.
Good morning, Ladi. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. So we see oil market still volatile right now. Prices did jump after the Saudi energy minister. He said shorters in the market will be ouching soon. And we saw prices jump, after that. What can we expect for the OPEC June meeting?
Well, the same that happened, and then we also saw Russia. Actually, the Prime Minister of Russia said is expecting really nothing, a major cut, by the OPEC in its next meeting, considering the fact that there've been that cuts already and it was recently implemented. And so basically, because what we saw and what happened the first time was the fact that the markets were bullish early on Monday as a result of the deal, the close deal about the U.S. debt ceiling, and after then we later saw that investors were concerned about further rate hikes, and so as a result of that, we saw that bearish market, because considering the fact that we saw inflation, the U.S. consumer spending actually increased by 0.8% in April from March, and also core inflation rose to about 4.7%, from 4.6. So there are still signs that the inflation risks are actually, around the corner, and so that is actually raising fears that the U.S. Fed might likely increase rates again, different from what they said at their last meeting, and so that's what we are seeing with the investors. We are seeing that mixed concerns in the market.
All right, let's look at all the commodities now. We see wheat prices there tending downward at this time, again about 1.94%. That's in the global market. How are you seeing drivers in that market?
Well, it's quite clear that the Russia-Ukraine war, the impact of the Russia and Ukraine war, has now waned on global commodity prices, and so basically, we're seeing improved supply of wheat in the market. I think it fell to a 2-year low of $613 per bushel. We saw that happen, I think, about a week ago. And so this is actually positive for African countries, considering the fact that it's a major import for African country, and it was as of last year when the war started, it was a major stoking factor of food inflation. So this is positive for African country, and even looking at Nigeria, I think wheat accounts for about over 3% of our total imports. So looking at this, the fact that this prices have actually declined, we're going to see a reduction in our imports bill, and also the fact that we reduce inflationary pressure in Nigeria, even though we are now at a point whereby we might likely see increase because of the fuel subsidy that we've heard about now. So, but generally, looking at what is happening in the wheat market, we're going to see a lower price pressure.
Talking about the subsidy removal, how's that going to impact domestic commodities?
Well, the impact has started because we're already seeing queues at the filling station, and the fact that there's a short supply of fuel, and then that's going to push up transportation costs. And looking at that, it's really going to reduce disposable income for consumers, and so it's going to really tighten people's income. So basically, and there's going to be high inflation expectation, because now people are going to run to the market because they know that now that fuel price has increased, it's going to affect food prices, looking at logistic costs. So it's going to also support an increase in inflation expectation, and so that has general implication for market prices actually.
Yeah, definitely. We're still busy fighting inflation at this point. We don't need anything stoking it. Thank you so much, Oluwatomi Mayo, our senior analyst, financial intelligence company. Thank you. All right, we'll take a moment now. We'll head to the markets right after this. Stay with us. Let's head on to the markets now. We have Anyete Edet with the details. Anyete, great to have you. Good morning. It's going to be the first trading day.
Good morning.
Good morning. After the inauguration, what are we expecting?
Well, of course, last week, before I tell you what to expect this week, last week, which was a final week for the financial markets for the immediate past administration. We saw bullish sentiments across the equities market, across the fixed income market, although it wasn't too good for the forex market segment. But then markets are a little bit, I would say, cautious, because this is going to be the first trading day for the week, as well as for the new administration. So
quite a lot to expect there.
Well, I'll give you the details. I'll give you the details, and at the same time, our analysts will be giving us more details on that.
Fantastic.
So, our forex market activities at the FMDQ exchange. This is what the forex market turned out. It was negative across board when you look at across the FX spot market, the forex market, the futures markets, as well as the FX derivatives. They were all in the red there, cumulative 7.71%. But what you saw, the biggest decline was on this forex markets, and that was what contributed largely to the drop in the market. What we had in contrast to the previous week. So what we had at the close of the week, as at May the 26th, what we had was just about $1.02 billion for in total value of transactions. Moving over to the other side of that market, the Naira was down by 0.04%. But yesterday, this is as of Friday last week. But yesterday, what you had, following the news that the new President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has announced that there will be a unified exchange rate. So the Naira saw some reprieve across the euro, the pound, as well as the dollar. So there was a reprieve of the market. So, but what we'll be expecting, we'll be talking to our fixed income analyst at Access Bank to give us more details on that. So, but first, let's move over to the equities market. There you have it there, 1.51%, and this was largely driven by the shares of Nestle and MTN Nigeria, which countered we had a slowdown. We had some profit taking in Thursday's trading session, but four trading sessions last week, we saw the greens had it. Then in terms of the activity, the sectoral performance broadly positive, except for the industrial goods counter, and we saw some of the bellwethers there taking a bashing from the impact of profit taking on that counter. So far, month to date, the market today is the first trading day for this week. But month to date is 1.1%, and then year to date 3.4% for the market. Let's take a look at the volume of activity. It was down by 35.5%, while the value of activities was down by 0.4% at 33.89 billion naira. Now we saw the top trades. For the top trades, we saw the shares of UBA, Access, and Zenith Bank for the week. That's week to date. They were the major contributors to more than 1 billion shares carried out there. Now, so that's it for that market. Let's look at what to expect for this week. Yes, the financial markets, they're resuming from the inauguration holiday, and then we expect that investors will be focusing on the new administration's economic agenda. For the bonds market, we saw bullish trading, but let's talk to Senator Audu, who is a fixed income dealer at Access Bank, to give us more details as we speak and what to expect for this new week. Thank you for joining us, Senator.
Thank you, Aneti. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So as you explained, we expect the market to be largely driven by the policy objectives of the new government. Besides that, we also expect some actions from the regulators to support market activity. So last week, for example, we saw the MPC, the Monetary Policy Committee, meet on Tuesday and Wednesday. At that meeting, they raised the monetary policy rate by 50 basis points from 18% to 18.5%. On that day, on Wednesday, we saw the DMO, the Debt Management Office, conduct an NTB auction. About 180 billion was offered and sold at that auction. But considering that the auction closed before the announcements from the MPC, we didn't see any impact of that on the results. We saw rates trend downwards, 365-day bill trended downwards by about 100 basis points from 8.99% to 7.99%. We saw rates trend downwards on 91 and 180 today offerings as well to 2.29 and 4.99% respectively. Regarding the key takeaways from the president's inauguration address, the key amongst that was fuel subsidy removal. The justification of the president there is that he intends to rechannel those funds into better investments in infrastructure, education, healthcare, and other key sectors of the economy. For job creation, it's about 1 million jobs and it's also targeting high GDP growth. On the fixed income market side, the key news on that front that should affect the market is on monetary policy. He announced 2 key areas that he believes that the monetary policy can be improved. He mentioned the unified exchange rate system, as well as interest rate.
Okay, Senator, I know you would have given us more details about what to expect for this week, but of course, time is not always our friend. But we thank you for that analysis, and of course, our eyes are always on the market. So that was Senator Audu, fixed income dealer at Access Bank. So,
right.
Ladi,
so much to look out for today. Fingers crossed.
I think I'll call it cautious optimism.
Cautious optimism.
All right. No short of any words.
All right. Thank you so much, Anita. That was Anita that giving us the details from the fixed income market and the local bourse right here in Nigeria. Let's head on to the UK. Right now we have Teniola Oyetayo. Great to have you, Tenny. So we see food inflation in the UK that slowed from April's record-breaking rise, but it's still up more than 15% on the year. How's this data being digested over there?
Yes, Laddie. So this research by the British Retail Consortium, which is a body that represents retailers, shows a 15.4% rise in food inflation in the year to May. Well, this is the second fastest annual increase that the BRC has ever measured, but the figure is down slightly compared with April's record-breaking increase of 15.7%. So what we're seeing essentially is that while food inflation may have peaked and is beginning to come down as a result of lower energy and commodity prices, it hasn't resulted in a slowdown of overall inflation in shops, meaning consumers are still facing high prices compared to last year. But overall, the data does signify a positive trend, and the BRC has cautioned that it's vital that the government does not hamper this early progress by piling more costs onto retailers and forcing up the cost of goods even further, Laddie.
And there are plans to encourage supermarkets to introduce voluntary price caps on food staples. Any sound bites on how this would work?
Well, so these are some of the measures that the BRC is warning the government against. It's understood that proposals are being drawn up to advocate for charging the lowest possible amount for some basic products like bread and milk. And supermarkets are expected to be allowed to select which items they would cap and only take part in the initiative on a voluntary basis. But the BRC says the plan could negatively impact efforts to cut inflation, and instead the government needs to focus on what it calls, smarter processes and rules so that resources can be directed to keeping prices as low as possible. The plan was also ridiculed by opposition MPs over the weekend. On Sunday, they compared it to the pricing controls introduced by the Conservative government in the 1970s. One of the main reasons for the backlash also is the optional aspect of the scheme, which has led critics to question whether it will have any effect on the cost at all, making it essentially pointless. But this is still in the works, and no concrete plans have been put forward yet, Laddie.
Right. I guess the government is trying to cap everything at this point to tame prices. Thank you so much, Teniola Oyetayo. Thank you. All right, let's head on to other markets now. This one doesn't have a cap. It's a lot of volatility right now. Bitcoin started a downward move after rising about 28,000 resistance zone, but struggled to clear that 28,400 and 28,500 resistance levels. And we look at the sentiment in the market right now, it's 51 points, still neutral. It's been holding on to neutral all through last week and coming into this week. Let's look at the top cryptocurrencies we track. We see the price of Bitcoin this morning about 20 $27,761 after losing that 28,000 level. It's down 0.87%. Ethereum also did try to get above that 1,900. It's now $1,899 at ATM this morning, down 0.30%. We see it's just XRP, 50 cents, up 3.84%. The only one doing really well this morning, still on that SEC matter there. We see top gainers, MRT's leading counter up 8.02%. Let's bring in Rume Ofi now, financial market analyst. Hello, Rume.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rume. Great to have you. So, yeah, it's a day after the inauguration. Does the inauguration of President Tinubu bring hope to Nigeria's cryptocurrency industry? Because we know this industry is closely watched by major governments right now. How are you seeing this?
It's a sign of relief, fresh air, if you ask me. At some point, even answering your question, I have to take in some deep breath because it's quite refreshing. We've had a very rough 2021, the past, where the previous administration actually didn't give or didn't give us opportunity to hear our side of the story, banning the central bank banning cryptocurrency from bank transactions, which was really, really massive for the entire space. In fact, investors that had intentions to see Nigeria as an investment destination actually had a rethink. But I think this is a sign of relief, because even previously, before now, the current president, that is President Tinubu, has actually said that in the town hall meeting in Abuja that they are going to look at that will ensure that Nigeria can take greater advantage of the recent innovation. Then also, I like the fact that his manifesto said that will reform policies to encourage prudent use of blockchain technology in the banking and finance sector. Also, he talked about identity management. Identity management is a serious issue. People can do all sorts to manipulate identity. Then also revenue collection, which is very important to government, and as well as the use of crypto asset. It is very clear. Seems that this current administration is going to give green light to the crypto industry, and it's very, very important for us, and it's a welcome development. It didn't just stop there. Say that we're going to establish an advisory committee to review SEC, Nigeria, the Security and Exchange Commission, a regulation here, to come up with a regulation on digital assets creation and make it more efficient, which means there's something really robust. And that is not to say that this is also a very good idea coming from the present president now, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Also, I think it's more like an inspiration from what has happened in Lagos. Lagos is one of the top cities in the world, among the top 50 performing cities in terms of cryptocurrency businesses. Lagos is tops around all of the other cities in Africa, holding 14 spots, which means all of this put together, as they say, charity begins from home, from Lagos to the rest of of Nigeria.
So, Rume, do you think that a Tinubu presidency is bullish for the crypto industry in Nigeria?
Yes. So if you look at the tail end of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, we got the blockchain. The national blockchain policy being approved, and it's going to go side by side all of the things that they have said in the manifesto, that they're going to involve blockchain technology in finance, which means that our financial system is going to be enhanced, and also cryptocurrency asset are going to be also looked at.
And we still have to watch out for what the CBN obviously is going to do with crypto going forward also. But let's look at the market generally now. How are you seeing Bitcoin price action? Is this week is looking quite bullish for this week? The debt ceiling has been negotiated. Is it going to be all through bullish from here for the market?
So short-term bullish, if you say, quite fair enough. It's already looking at 28,000. But like a lot of people will say that where this is a sign towards the bull market, is a no-no for me, because with all of this showing, it means that there's still some interest, there's still money in circulation, and the US Fed is trying to tighten the economy, and when the economy is being tightened, risky asset, not just cryptocurrency, now all goes down. So this could be just maybe the last leg up before we see we're going to have a prolonged downside, a prolonged bear market. So please let us learn, especially those also involved in the crypto space. Let's learn how to breathe underwater at this point in time.
Learning how to breathe underwater. Roommate the Bear, thank you so much. Always good to have your perspective, roommate. Thank you. All right, let's look at the top losers right now quickly. We see MIO at the top in the counter for the top Guinness counter. Leader Dow, XRP, 50 cents, up 3.98%. So that's how the crypto market is looking today. Still no direction yet, still quite neutral, but some expect some bullish sentiment to continue in the market. So that's a wrap on the program. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to join us at 1:30 for Business Incorporated. And you can watch this again on our YouTube channel. Just flip over to YouTube, search our videos. You can watch all our productions. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye-bye.